Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Byers, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Meinzer? Mr. Poole?
Present.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Ms. Twine? Here. Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here. Make a motion to excuse Mr. Meinzer.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Motion be approved, hearing no objection. The motion to excuse Mr. Meinzer is approved. This evening, we have a young lady with us by the name of Alexa Harris, who is currently a senior at Sandusky High School. Alexa is shadowing Commissioner Harris, and he tells me that they are not related, just share the same last name. I've asked her to sit with us at the table this evening. She is the vice president of her class at Sandusky High School. She plans on going on to college to study political science. This internship is an opportunity to learn a little more about local government. It's my hope that we commissioners will be on our best behavior this evening, so not to force Alexi to change her majors. Thank you for joining us, Alexi.
Go back. Go back.
Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of November the 8th, 2021. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move that we accept the minutes of the November 8th meeting and dispense with the formal reading.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, those minutes are approved. Chief Oliver, I'm going to break into our agenda and allow you to share with us a new officer recruit.
Well, thank you, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. I just want to introduce our newest full-time officer to Sandusky Police Department. This is Nicole Bogard. She started full-time with us last Thursday. She's currently still attending the police academy. All goes according to the calendar. She's got about 30 days, and she'll be certified, and then she'll begin in her field training program with our department. So I just wanted to bring her in and let her say hi. Nicole?
Thank you for letting me come here. I'm excited to start this with Sandusky, and I can't wait to be done with the academy so I can get out there.
Thanks, Nicole, for taking a chance on the city by accepting this offer of employment. And I know you, most young people say they can't wait to get to this point in their life and get on with employment. So let's see if you feel that way after 20 years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any residents in the audience that have questions or comments pertaining to tonight's agenda? Does not appear that there are any residents in the audience, period, have comments or not. We have on our agenda a presentation regarding what we call cure-in-place piping by our city engineer, Josh Snyder. Why is this important? A couple of reasons. Commissioners, we are being asked to spend thousands of dollars using this technique to eliminate the expenditure of hundreds of thousands of dollars in replacing pipes. So I think it's very important. Mr. Snyder, if you're at your desk, you can begin your presentation.
Thank you, President Brady. Can you all see the slideshow?
Yes, we have you.
Excellent. Great. So cure-in-place piping, this is something Commissioner Murray inquired about earlier this year. It's a process, tool in our toolbox, if you will, for maintaining sewer pipes in the ground. This is also referred to as sewer lining. So here's a couple of the pipe problems we see regularly. Disjointed pipe segments over time. Older pipes in particular, they aren't welded together or do not seat like male and female into each other. Cracks in pipe for various reasons, material quality control, work being done in or adjacent to the pipe can cause cracks. Roots in pipe, trees and droughts, tree roots drive themselves to any moisture they can find, and so they find their way to pipe joints often. Ultimately, the pipe defects, any of these, cause additional infiltration into our our piped system, and oftentimes end up at our wastewater treatment plant. There we treat it with chemicals, and it takes resources, manpower, electricity, to treat that. And so as for one thing is to secure longevity of our pipes in the ground, but second, to reduce costs of treatment. Sewer lining oftentimes is a good option. So this picture, I brought this more to show pipe defects. So on the right-hand side of the pipe, you'll see light-colored lines, and those are indicative of cracks in a pipe. A little further beyond that into the pipe, you can see an offset. And this one's pretty bad in this pipe. This isn't a pipe that we lined, but I'm trying to show you some defects, and so this would be something that raises lots of flags in a sewer line. So this snapshot you're looking at is what our video cameras can capture from the sewer video trucks. Here's another section of pipe, not another one that we did not line. Off on the right-hand side, you can see a section of the pipe falling in. Looks like fragments of stone. Actually, it's broken pieces of pipe, like as if somebody drove a utility pole or something very close to that. That may cause cracks like what you see here. On the very bottom, you see what look to be dark spider webs. These are actually tree roots, and so this picture captures tree roots intruding to a joint in a pipe, trying to get to that moisture, that flow right there at the bottom of the pipe. You can see why these are problems. Tree roots, they collect anything that may come along the stream, and so oftentimes in these videos you can see toilet paper hung up in them, other objects, and so that's obviously restricts flow in a pipe. This is actually a section we did line. This is Warren Street. If you can imagine Warren and Monroe, there's a manhole right in the intersection. I'm going to talk a little bit before I start the video. Here along the outside, you can see it's slightly disjointed. You can see the next section of pipe here and even here into the distance. So you can see it's slightly disjointed, not cracked terribly from this snapshot, but you can see a lot of debris. So this photo is actually video that I'll be starting here in a second is actually pre-lining. So this is actually before we even cleaned it. And this is how you're looking at what a guy in the camera truck would be watching. So as he's going along, he's noticing and he pauses the camera to make notes. You can see these are some of the notes made, but the debris at the bottom is obviously something to bring your attention to. Now I'm stopping it here, and you can see a crack on the right-hand side. You see this is disjointed, and again, it's starting to become pretty significant, the buildup. And this is mortar. This is possibly pieces of broken pipe. Looks like to be stone debris. So this is built up over some time. I'll kind of skip ahead here because it's just a lot more of that. And here again, you can see how segmented the pipe is and disjointed the pipe is, and how it doesn't run true and straight. And that's okay for a candidate for lining. The topic of this PowerPoint, that doesn't concern me. What I see right here, it's actually a pretty good candidate. So we'll go on to the next slide, and Ms. Myers has some samples to share with you, and they're actually in this photograph, but these are sections actually cut from what's left over from a pipe lining. And so as those get passed around, feel free to feel the inside of the liner. Those are actually samples of what I believe a 12-inch diameter pipe lining. And so the one that's fully circular, you can even push on it, and you can see it actually adds structural strength to a pipe. So again, those little cracks that we saw, those are really a non-issue for sewer lining. And in fact, these do reinforce pipes. So the inside you'll notice is rather smooth, almost like a PVC plastic type pipe. You'll also notice a seam on the inside of the pipe, and that's actually where the material gets folded for transportation purposes when they come on the truck. Here's a couple of photos of work happening, and this is out in the Larchmont area. These happened last winter, and of note, I guess, of the center photo, you can see white, what looks like a felt bag. That's actually the lining that's in your hand that you guys are passing around right now. This is what it looks like when it comes on the truck. The good thing about doing this in the winter is this material actually comes on a refrigerated truck. The way this sets up or cures out is that the resin that's impregnated inside that felt actually doesn't get activated until it's heated up. So the guys working in this cold weather, they don't like it, sure. But honestly, for the sake of the material, it's kind of an ideal time because the material is really workable, and they don't have fear of it setting up. We actually had a hot day late this summer, and the refrigerator part of the truck quit, and the crew hauled it from Cleveland to here, and by the time it got here, it had hardened up on the pallet inside because it got too warm. So yeah, so what you see in the right hand picture here, and in this in the center picture here is you can actually see in the background the lining material coming off the truck. It goes over a roller so that it doesn't get twisted one way or the other, and then enters the manhole. You can see it turn white there on the downside of the frame tripod that they have set up, and it's actually inverting upon itself. And there on the bottom right-hand side of the center picture, you'll see pure soybean oil. That's actually what's used as a lubricant, so they can turn that piping material onto itself or invert it upon itself once it's down inside the hole, and they apply air pressure to it. So the far right picture, this shows the very end of a run and where they cut it off. So this could be, conceivably this could be where they cut off a section like what you guys are passing around in your meeting there. Just some more pictures. That's all, again, all out in the Larchmont. Now this is the exact same pipe we just looked at. So this is even within the same 40-foot segment of pipe, starting at Monroe and Warren, going northbound. There's another manhole 40 feet away, and so what we just saw with all of the buildup on the bottom is now cleaned and lined. And so this video was actually taken last month. And you'll see as we go along here, those offsets in the pipe are not so dramatic once it gets lined. What you can't see until later in the video is there's actually a cleaning head that's leading this. It's just ahead of the video, just outside the video. You can still tell it's not a straight piece of pipe, and you can see the joints, but it's now reinforced with that same liner that you guys have there passing around. And sure, there's a couple low spots, there's a couple bellies, and that's why water may sit like this, but once it's lined, you know, it was formerly a clay pipe, and now it's effectively a plastic pipe. What that does is that reduces the friction factor and allows the sewage to flow quicker through this pipe, all while sealing the joints and not allowing the roots to come in, the infiltration from groundwater and yards to come on in. So I'll kind of fast forward. Again, this is really only a 40-foot segment of pipe. There you can see the jet head that's leading the camera turn on, and it's getting pulled away, and the camera is now following. And so I'm going to pause it right here. So what you see here is inside a manhole, the lining continued through the manhole. So what they did with the liner is for access purposes, the top side's cut open, but the bottom side, the flow line, if you will, is in fact lined to keep material moving. And so kind of a nice job they did here through the manhole. The lining continues on into the next segment, but through the manhole, even this flow line is lined, and yet the top side is opened for our maintenance people to access and look and check as they do on their routine basis. So kind of the before and after, and that was what I wanted to show you. Here's Larchmont, and this is after. I'm not going to bore you with another video. These were less offset segments out in Larchmont, and so this made a really nice looking finished product and final video there. These are what we get for reports after the lining has been placed. They give us a distance map of everywhere they restored a tap. So everywhere a service is tied into a sewer, they have to cut those back in. And so they have a robot that has effectively like a roto-zip blade on it, like drill bit on it, and it knows where those tie-ins are, and it will cut perfect circles to reestablish any of the connected sewer laterals. And so we get a full report when they're done. That way, if a resident calls and says, hey, this is my address, obviously we have the resources. We'll look up exactly where their tap was for that address and backtrack these kinds of forms and make sure that they truly did reestablish the tap for that home. And so this is our peace of mind that work was done and houses don't back up, and we can have this in our pocket. The last slide I have is a simple cost comparison I put together, and so I have our 2020 lining and our fall 2021 lining, and I had some common pipe sizes. So on your left-hand side, you see an 8-inch, 10-inch, 12, 15, and 24-inch pipe. And these were lining prices that we actually received, these two columns. The third column is actually comparing those prices with what the cost would be to open cut. So instead of doing what we've been, if we were to do the traditional dig, pull that old pipe out, replace it with new pipe, and backfill it, these prices don't even include pavement restoration or seeding and mulching or traffic control, because obviously doing what we do, there is no restoration at the surface. There is minimal traffic control because they can run, depending on the diameter, they can run 2 blocks of this without having to have a termination point. So they don't have to have a manhole popped until they're at the end of, say, 800-foot run, maybe 1,000-foot run, depending on the diameter that they line. So comparing what we've been paying the last two lining projects with the traditional open cutting, you can see 2020, hypothetically, we've saved 40% from open cutting that. In 2021, about 43% now. again, I'll put the asterisk out there that this isn't the end all solution to every sewer problem, but again, it's a nice tool to have in the toolbox. It's really non-invasive for the surface. That winter 2020 project, we were able to line some sewers that were under sheds in backyards, went under the awning of a house. Not areas you want to open cut anyway. So again, it's a nice tool to have in the toolbox. Is this the answer? Is this the way to do sewers less expensive? Not every time, but at least we're tracking and we know that, hey, this is cost effective and this is a good thing we need to keep doing on the right streets. So that's all I have.
Commissioners, questions or comments for our engineer?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I'd like to ask Josh, how old are I got a couple quick ones I'll read real fast. How old are the lines being sleeved currently? Some of them lines, I got to guess, they're what, 50, 60 years old or maybe even older?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a really good record on Warren Street. I know the water line there was 1908, but I don't have a record on the sewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my
Yeah.
follow-up is, what's the shelf life of these comparable to what we had in prior? And then also, can these sleeves, if we have a bad area, I know you mentioned you got a cleaning head that goes in front of it, but if we run into a root problem, I didn't hear that answered. I know the old way, roots got into the system. So with the new sleeving, is there a guarantee this is going to last 15, 20 years? I have no idea.
Yeah, so the life expectancy is 30 to 50.
Okay.
The current system, I guess I would say the current system varies, and I only say that not to be political, but depends on the type of pipe. Obviously, we have concrete in our system. We've got vitrified clay. We have some PVC, and so I guess it kind of depends on what it is. But mostly, a lot of the 60s, 70s, when we were in the infancy of combining sewers, thinking that was the way to go, there's actually a lot of vitrified clay, like orange clay pipe. And that stuff is tricky because when it was laid, there's really no bell and spigot on the ends. It's really laid what contractors term butt to butt, and so end to end, which really lends itself to the infiltration that I talked about and tree roots. And actually those are what contribute to the death of that also, because you get tree roots wedging in there, and eventually that overcomes it and can break that over time.
Okay, my last question is, can the sleeving be replaced? Let's say we're on you do a eighth of a mile section and we have one spot that's problematic. How do you go in and repair that? Is that something that would have to be dug up, or do you re-sleeve that area as there's access to them points, or?
I've not had the instance of re-sleeving, of having to reline a pipe. I think at that point, if it's so damaged that something happens to the lining or it collapses, it's probably worth taking out that small of a section and laying new pipe in that place. Did you ask a question before about root cutting, Mr. Waddington?
I couldn't hear what he said.
Root cutting.
Oh, no. What's the possibility of roots entering in this new sleeving?
At joints in the main, there's zero chance.
Okay.
At the taps for homes, it's the same chances as it was before, as we don't go up the laterals with any of this lining. So to answer that, I guess the worst of the root systems, the big root balls and the root masses that restrict our mains, are lessened greatly.
Thank you.
Sure.
Additional questions, comments, Commissioners?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Murray?
one thing I'd like to point out is, in addition to this being cheaper to install and not having all the costs of
having to repair the surface. This, in the end, reduces the amount of flow that's going into the sewer system. And as a lot of folks who frequently watched local government know, we're all frustrated by the cost of water and sewer. I mean, we just are. As office holders, we hear it frequently. We know our constituents are concerned about it, and it's a big expense. And we want to do it for the right thing because it protects Lake Erie, protects the jobs that we have in our area. We also don't have a choice about it. The EPA has said this is what you must do. And this is one more innovative way that our staff is reducing costs by trying something innovative. And here what we're seeing is that, it's the last gallon, or in a lot of cases, the last million gallons that go into the sewer system that are the most expensive gallons to treat and the most expensive gallons to divert. And if we can reduce the flow into the sewer system, we don't have to spend that last dollar. We don't incur those costs. So this is a whole lot more than the 43% savings. I don't know how that adds up in the end, but it must be a multiple of the savings that we're achieving. So really savings at both ends. So thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Snyder, if I understand this correctly, this product comes to us as a much smaller diameter type of pipe, and then it is inserted in the existing sewer pipe, and then it is pressurized, and then it is heated, and that causes it to expand. When it cools, then it forms a solid pipe. Is that kind of the Reader's Digest view of this?
Yes, it slightly expands. It's almost the diameter when it comes. The real magic to getting the liner in the pipe.
Yeah.
Is the lubricant that you saw, the vegetable oil and the air pressure, so that it inverts upon itself as it's going in, and so that's where the magic happens.
Sure.
But yes, the rest of the processes are correct.
Thank you for your presentation. I think we're all charged with spending a lot of money on sewer and water, and saving these kind of percentages are a tremendous savings, not just to we as a commission, but it's ultimately to our residents. So thanks for being innovative and bringing this to us. I hope we continue this in this direction.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Commissioners, you have before you several communications from staff recommending several pieces of legislation. Can I have a motion to accept these communications?
So moved.
Second.
Put a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. We have before us 2 items on our consent agenda this evening. Do any of we commissioners desire to move either of those items to our regular agenda? Ms. Myers, will you present the consent agenda, please?
Item A, Ohio EPA annual discharge fee for the wastewater treatment plant for year 2021.
And item B?
Item B, new liquor permit for Flash on Hancock LLC.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance and liquor permit hearing request, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Harris.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda items A and B, and declaring that all ordinances and/or resolutions as drafted and presented to the City Commission under the consent agenda shall take effect in accordance with section reflected in the ordinance and/or resolutions, whether it be in accordance with section 13 or 14 of the city charter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Myers, will you poll the commission on the motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Twine? Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance and request for liquor permit hearing are passed. We'll turn now to our regular agenda. Ms. Myers, you present item number 1 on our regular agenda. Excuse me.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Erie County Sheriff for the provision of public safety dispatching services for the City of Sandusky Police, Fire, and Service Departments commencing on January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Having, there been a motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Murray.
as you know, this initiative goes back many, many years now, probably close to 15 years now, where we initially combined the dispatch services. And at the time, we had ancient equipment, we had our own employees, it was duplicative to a certain extent. And we entered into good faith, long-term agreement with the county that we would eventually move to a consolidated system instead of just being co-located with the hopes that we would be able to save money. We have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars every year since. It's been one of the great partnerships that the city and the county have had, along with some of the other local districts who participate in joint dispatching by Erie County. So, and recently the chief has been able to take another look at what it is that we're spending, and then we've been able to achieve some additional savings. Plus, we have far better dispatch services with far more operability than we had before. So it's safer, it's cheaper. You don't think that these things can happen in local government, but they do. And this is a real win for all of us. So I'll be voting for it.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioners? I was privileged to serve as the chairman of the committee that established that. I still can't explain why the committee was named as it was. It was called the Police Participation Committee. And I don't think any of the people that served on that committee, there were some fine volunteers and residents at the time. I don't think any of us realized how meaningful this would be, and that it would be as financially as impactful as it has been. More recently as a year ago, as you intimated, Mr. Murray, Chief Oliver took the bold step of improving our financial position in the cost of this dispatch. So a thank you goes out to him and to those residents that served back 12, 15 years ago to establish this. Certainly a good thing. Ms. Myers, will you call roll on the motion, please?
Yes. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, will you present item number 2, please?
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to approve the first and final change order for the work performed by United Survey Incorporated of Cleveland, Ohio for the 2021 sewer lining project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Twine.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Snyder, I'm going to presume this deduct is, as most of our contracts dictate, are based on lineal footage or square footage or pounds or weight. I'm presuming that they just didn't have to go as far as we anticipated. That's why we're getting a deduct.
You're correct, Mr. Brady.
I like the kind of answers we get out of engineers. They're very brief and to the point. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Additional questions or comments, Commissioners? Ms. Myers, will you call a roll on the motion, please?
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes. That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 3, please.
It's requested an ordinance be passed approving the fee schedule for the Mills Creek Golf Course established by the city manager pursuant to Section 973.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Sandusky.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Chairman,
Commissioner Murray.
as a first reading, I move to approve this ordinance.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, will you call a roll on the motion, please?
Yes. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
That ordinance is passed on first reading and will come back to us one more time. That concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his report.
Thank you, Commission President Brady, Commissioners, audience, and staff. I will start with the donations. First, a donation of $1,000 for the K-9 program was received from the Cruise and Car Club in Smith's Top Notch. I'd ask for a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks to the Car Club.
Great. Also, a thank you to Stein Hospice for a donation of $250 and the Community Celebrations Council for a donation of $1,000 toward the purchase of decorative lights to adorn trees in Washington Park over the holidays. I'd ask for a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved, hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks to Stein Hospice for that donation.
A thank you to the Construction Equipment and Supply for donating the use of a lift worth $1,300 to the Division of Facilities and Properties for the purpose of decorating for the holiday season. I'd ask for a motion for that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved to Construction Supply with our thanks.
A donation of $500 for the Red Popcorn Wagon Fund was received from Dave Stedman. The donation was given in the name of Lynn Noda Grathwall Stedman. I'd ask for a donation to accept that, or a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks.
And finally, the Erie County Community Foundation would like to donate up to $8,000 for the purchase of holiday decorations and LED string and rope lighting for the Jackson Street Pier. This purchase will be made in time for the installation for the Sandusky Winter Wonderland scheduled for Friday and Saturday, December 10th and 11th, and the decorations will be used for the annual event in conjunction with the Civista Bank ice skating rink programming for the next several years. I'd ask for a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks.
Moving on to new and old business. For the police department, Nicole Bogert began her employment as a full-time officer. You had a chance to meet her earlier this evening with the police department on November 18th. She's currently attending the police academy with a projected graduation date of December 8th for Sandusky Fire. They applied for a grant through the Ohio Board of Emergency Medical Services for a training bundle, which includes Preston Professional Child and Infant Mannequins and Airway Management Trainer. The deadline for this grant was Friday, November 19th. There are no matching funds. The items will be awarded to the first 38 eligible applicants based on the receipt of the completed application. We wanted to make you aware of the application and ask for a motion to support the application, and we'll bring it back retroactively if we're successful.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved.
Thank you. For Public Works, a welcome to new employees, Jake Pachaki, Utilities Operator 2 at Big Island, Aaron Walter, Maintenance 2 and Sewer Maintenance, and Edward Alexander, Maintenance 2 and Ground Maintenance. Also, congratulations to Chris Aldridge for his promotion to Shift Operator 1 at the wastewater treatment plant. He recently passed the Class 1 wastewater exam and received Class 1 certification. For community development, the Consolidated Plan Advisory Committee will meet on Tuesday, November 23rd at 8:30 a.m. to discuss a proposed substantial amendment to the CDBG CV funds for fiscal year 2021. The proposed amendment will allocate funds to rent and mortgage assistance for Sandusky residents. The CPAC meeting will be held in the Commission chambers and live streamed on YouTube. Also, the next several planning meetings include the Arts and Culture Commission meeting for Tuesday, December 21st at 5:15. Landmark Commission scheduled for Wednesday, December 15th at 5 p.m. Board of Zoning Appeals scheduled for Thursday, December 16th at 4:30 p.m. And the Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, December 22nd at 5 p.m. Finally, recreation. The Sandusky Community Celebrations Council will hold the annual holiday lighting ceremony in Washington Park on Friday, November 26th, starting at 6 p.m. Festivities include the Sandusky High School Brass Choir, Santa's Arrival, refreshments and cookies served by the Salvation Army, free admission to the Merry-Go-Round Museum, an open house at the Follett House, and many good vendors throughout the evening. Festivals will end at 7 p.m. with a performance by the Sandusky High School Keynotes and Bell Choir at the Adams School Building. Sandusky's time in the Cookie House this season is sponsored by Firelands Federal Credit Union, and a full schedule will be available on the Sandusky Community Celebrations Council Facebook page and on the door of the Cookie House in Washington Park this season. As always, children can drop letters to Santa in the mailbox at the Cookie House, and the Savista Ice Skating Rink will make its debut at the Jackson Street Pier on Wednesday, November 24th. Ice skating is free, and skate rentals will be available for $5. A grand opening celebration is set for Thursday, December 2nd at 4:30 p.m. Free skate rentals, giveaways, and hot chocolate will be provided by Vista Bank that evening. That concludes my remarks for this evening. I'm happy to accept any questions or comments.
Commissioners, questions or comments for the city manager? Moving to old business. Any items of old business? Commissioner Harris, I wonder if you'd share with the commission the event that you participated in Friday evening to the benefit, I believe, of minority women business in our community.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. This past Friday, we actually, as Commissioner Brady had mentioned, we had the pleasure of celebrating mothers and women in business. And might I say, we had a heck of a turnout. We had about probably every bit of 100 or more people in attendance. At that event, we also I guess we went ahead and inform people, that's the word I was looking for. We informed individuals about our startup scholarship that the Minority Business Empowerment Team was able to team up with RISE. And what that's for is the startup scholarship is to reimburse and or cover the $125 towards like the cost of an LLC. And then what was so incredible was, we were able to host this event down at Noble Crafts. And so Mr. Holgerfie was there, being a glorified bartender and a gracious host, if you would. And as we were announcing this $125 scholarship for, which will actually be made available to 35 startups, he upped the ante by adding $500 to each scholarship for a total of $625. So I was pretty much at a loss for words, as many of you might be able to imagine, but how some startups might be able to take advantage of this opportunity is to get in touch with Abby Bemis, the executive director over at Erie County Economic Development Corporation, and they'll be more than happy to have a sit down with you and take you through the application process. And this can either be on that of like a reimbursement, or they will actually guide you through the process and pay for it online. So certainly get out there, take advantage of it. And our Minority Business Empowerment Team, and what that is it's for women, and people of color, as well as veterans too. So it covers pretty much all bases. So we look forward to hosting bigger and better events, and just continuing to try to make a small difference here in our community. So I thank everyone that made an appearance and or even just supported from afar. It was certainly a success, and again, we look forward to more in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, and thanks for your involvement in this, and certainly our thanks to Megan and Rick Hargreaves. This is certainly not a business move, it's a philanthropic move on their part.
Certainly.
We thank them as a commission. Additional items of old business, Commissioners. Items of new business. Any items of new business?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Murray.
I need to ask for an executive session, so I'm going to make a motion for an executive session. We need to continue our work on reviewing the city manager's, or completion of our review of the city manager, and we need to get together as a group to talk about that. So that's my motion.
Second.
A motion, a second discussion? Ms. Mars, if you would poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That executive session is set. Are there any residents who'd like to provide a comment on any item affecting city business? I see no residents in the audience. We'll move upstairs to our executive session at this point and suspend this meeting for that period of time. Stu, you ready?
Dennis, we gotta come back in open session.
Well, I understand, but all I have to do is say what
Yeah. We've returned from our executive session at 5:56, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.